This presentation on Anna Howard Shaw was put together using a compilation of her own words from a variety of her speeches and letters throughout the years of her work for women's suffrage.
Good afternoon. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am the Reverend Anna Howard Shaw. It is a great pleasure to have traveled to your fair town on the Suffrage Special. Our contingency from the National Women's Suffrage Association has been shown every courtesy by the Northern Pacific Railroad and the towns as we have visited on this great journey to ensure that someday women will have the right to vote in the United States. If you will indulge me with just a few moments of your time, I will share my thoughts on the topic of women's suffrage.
August 18th marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving American women the right to vote. It was the culmination of decades-long fighting and advocacy to grant women the ability to have a voice in the laws of our lands. Railways played a prominent role in the suffrage movement by allowing the quick movement of political campaign stumpers. Two suffrage trains, one in 1909 and another in 1916, played prominent roles in laying the groundwork for the passing of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, giving American women the right to vote.
I wake up every morning with a great desire to live joyfully. Nothing bigger can come to a human being than to love a great cause more than life itself. I would rather be known as an advocate of equal suffrage than to speak every night on the best paying platforms in the United States and ignore it. A gentleman opposed to women receiving the vote once said to me, "Women have never produced anything of value to the world." In truth, I told him the chief product of the women had been the men, and left it to him to decide whether the product was of any value. In my ministerings, God made a woman equal to a man, but he did not make a woman equal to a man and a woman. We women usually try to do the work of man and of a woman too. Then we break down.
One prominent woman in the fight for voting rights was Anna Howard Shaw. Born in England in 1847, she moved to the United States at the age of 4. At a time when women were expected to only marry and become mothers, Anna took a different path. At the age of 24, she became a Methodist preacher. She then went without family support to college and began a career lecturing on temperance. In 1878, at the age of 31, she graduated from Boston University Divinity School, but was not ordained until 1888 due to being female. She received her medical degree in 1886 from Boston University at the age of 39.
I've also been asked, if women voted, would they not have to sit on juries? My answer is that many women would be glad of a chance to sit on anything. There are women who stand up and wash 6 days in the week at 75 cents a day who would like to take a vacation and sit on a jury for $1.50 a day. Around me, I see women overworked and underpaid, doing men's work at half men's wages. Not because their work was inferior, but because they are women.
In 1888, Anna attended the first meeting of the International Council of Women. Leading suffrage advocate Susan B. Anthony encouraged her to join the National Women's Suffrage Association. Anna played a key role in persuading the American Woman Suffrage Association to merge with the National Women's Suffrage Association. She was then vice president of the National American Women's Suffrage Association when Susan B. Anthony was president, before becoming president herself.
Please let me leave you with these thoughts. If the women of the United States, with their free schools and all their enlarged liberties, are not superior to women brought up under monarchical forms of government, then there is no good in liberty. However, if you think we should submit our suffrage measure to the advice of politicians, well, I would as soon submit the subject of the equality of a goose to a fox. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, believe me, if we women ever get to the polls once, you will never get us home.
At the age of 62, she was on board the 1909 Suffrage Special as it traveled across country and throughout Washington state to attend the National American Women's Suffrage Association convention in Seattle. Timed to coincide with the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition, it was believed that the confluence of the widely publicized convention and World's Fair would help win supporters for women's voting rights. Along the way, she gave speeches from the rear platform of the train. Her work helped pass in 1910 women's suffrage in Washington state. In her 70s, during World War I, she performed home front war work, earning a Distinguished Service Medal in 1919. At the end of the war, at the request of President Wilson and former President Taft, she lectured in the United States and Europe in support of world peace and the League of Nations. It was during one of those speaking tours that she fell ill, dying in July 1919 at the age of 72, just 13 months before the culmination of her life's work in the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving American women the right to vote on August 18, 1920.